colleagues, thank you for your patience in waiting for us to get to this point. I want to thank our colleague from Merced for his presentation of this bill. He and I and all of us represent very different districts. We represent the diversity of California, but one thing that we all share at this time is that we are living during the worst housing crisis our state has ever experienced. This year, our Assembly Housing Committee, we had hearings around the state. North, south, inland, coastal, every corner of our state is experiencing this housing crisis. I want to take a moment and thank our speaker for prioritizing housing at the top of our agenda as something that we have to get done in 2017. I also want to thank many of you who represent what we refer to as an informal housing caucus, again, representing the great diversity of our state, needing to move forward. And I want to thank our Senate leadership, our governor, everyone coming together. And if I could just take a moment to explain the context of the package that we're about to vote on. There is no one-size-fits-all as far as how we address this. There is no silver bullet that is going to end the housing crisis. We have a number of bills that we will be voting on to make sure that we streamline housing creation. We have a half a dozen bills we'll be voting on to ensure that there's more accountability on the part of jurisdictions and cities to build housing. But this bill, SB 2, is at the heart of what we need to do. We've lost $1.7 billion a year since the Great Recession with regards to what we used to invest in housing. And we know that there is housing that the market is never going to build. And that is why we need SB 2. As the housing chair, I have probably spent more time on this bill than any other bill this year. And I want to echo some of what our colleague from Merced just said. While this may be a Senate bill, this Assembly has put its stamp on this bill. Out of respect to those of you that represent more rural areas, less dense areas, suburban areas, 70% of the funds of this bill will go back to locals. Because we heard the concerns around homelessness, half of the money in the first year is going to go to homelessness, with a significant percentage of this bill over time going to homelessness. We are ensuring we're investing in home ownership, in farm worker housing, in workforce housing. And as you heard, we've had a decade of trying to build political support for a permanent source of housing. There is no larger coalition than the coalition around this bill to move this forward. From the private sector, realtors, apartment association, building industry, to our environmentalists, to cities around the state, to labor, to business. And for any of you, though, who are not yet ready to vote for this bill, I ask you to do one thing. To think about the face of your constituents. Think about a child in your district who is homeless. Think about 5 children in your district who are homeless. Think about 500 children in your district who are homeless. In the state of California, we have 500,000 kids who are homeless. Think about a college student who's living in his or her car, or sleeping on a friend's couch, taking showers in the gym. All of us speak at CSU campuses. Imagine speaking to a room full of 100 students, knowing that 1 out of 10 CSU students are homeless. Think about the face of teachers in your district, or firefighters, or first responders who have to drive 2 or 3 hours to do their work in your district. Think about those low-wage retail workers, those construction workers who are driving hours to do work in your district. Think about homeless veterans. California has 1 out of 4 American homeless veterans living in our state. Finally, think about our kids. Our children, many of them cannot afford to live in our communities.
30 seconds.
We have a chance to do something about this. This is a down payment for them. We have to get this done. I ask you to bring California home and vote yes for SB 2.